Okay, in this lecture, we're going to be going over the information for the Unit 2, Week 1. And so I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up. I'm going to share my screen with you. So we've got Unit 2, probability. And if you come right here, you'll see we've got the Word worksheets. We've also got the one Excel workbook. Then we also have the formula sheet, and there's also a Z table right here. And then if we go ahead and just so you know exactly where it is that we are, we're under Unit 2 probability. So click on Unit 2 probability, and you'll see the worksheets. And when you get to the worksheets, or when you get to the Unit 2, you can download the worksheets directly from here, or else you can also get them from inside of here. And so you'll have this video, which is right here. And then you can download the Word worksheet and the Excel workbook. And then right here, it's got the videos that go over what you need in order to get to quiz 2-1. And then you also have the video for quiz 2-2. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and open up the Word worksheet really quick. Let's see here. We're going to be doing a lot of this in class actually, because this is a more interactive experience. Some of this is more vocabulary, and so you'll notice that a lot of this is vocabulary. And then also, if you go into the textbook, it talks about, hey, if you go to the textbook, you'll actually be able to get a lot of this. But the classical, empirical, and subjective information, that is specifically coming from this lecture right here. So make sure that you watch that lecture if you want to understand the difference between those different types of probabilities. And so coming down here, you have these different types of probabilities, and the question is, okay, based on this, what type of probability is it? Is it classical? Is it empirical? Is it subjective? Is it classical, empirical, or subjective? And the video really demonstrates that. And that video, because it's pretty much all just straight up definitions, that's something that you guys will be watching before you guys get to class. And then probability of you having a great day today. So this is something that's completely subjective. And then because it's based on lots of different things. Historically, you put gas in the car about every 10 days. The probability of you having to fill it up any given day is about 0.1. So based on historical data, what is the probability of you having to do it again in the future in a certain amount of time? And the probability of you getting an A in this stats course is based on lots of different information. Probability of you rolling a 4 with a 6-sided die is 1 out of 6, or 0.1667. So it's one side out of the 6 sides. And so then you come down here, you can give your own examples of classical. And as you know from my quizzes, I often give you, hey, here's an example. What is it? Label the following as mutually exclusive, independent, or dependent. Now the problem is collectively exhaustive is not in the reading. You'll have to read a little bit more about that, but collectively exhaustive basically just means that everything is listed. And I think we covered this a little bit earlier, that every single possible outcome has to be listed. But mutually exclusive and independent are all covered in detail 138 to 146. So for instance, if you take Professor Eide's QBA course, you cannot be enrolled in Professor Turner's course. That means that the two events are completely exclusive. You cannot have both of them together. And then independent means that one does not influence the other. And so if you come right up here, it talks about independence. The occurrence of one event cannot impact the other. And then dependent, one impacts the other, and then collectively exhaustive means that everything has to be listed. Once again, come up with your own information there. And then this is something that we're going to be doing in class. And so as long as you guys show up for this, we're going to be going through this in class, and it'll be a lot of fun because we're going to be shooting Nerf darts. Then coming down here, we're getting into principles of counting worksheet, and there's actually not a whole lot that goes on here. So we'll probably actually be able to get through the majority of this in class in the same day as as going through the nerf stuff earlier. And so just be aware of that, the permutation formula, combination formula. There is a lecture that you guys can watch beforehand, so that way we can have more fun in class shooting nerf darts. And so yeah, in here you're going to be doing multiplication, permutation, combination, and looking at, you know, what is the difference between that. The whole point of this is we want to know what is the total number of possible outcomes. And so when we know the total number of possible outcomes, and we say, okay, there are a total of 5 favorable outcomes, and then there are a total of 5,000 possible outcomes. Well, what is 5 divided by 5,000? That gives you the probability of you getting one of those favorable outcomes. And then coming down here, you've actually calculated, but like I said, we're going to be doing this more in class. Next, let's see here. We're going to pull up the Excel. So if you download the Unit 2 Excel workbook, this Excel workbook, the way that I have it set up is there is a decision tree. Some people like this, some people don't like this, but this right here, this is basically what we're going over in the first part of the unit. This is what we're going over in the second part of the unit. And then this is what we're going over in the third part of the unit, which is the different types of probability distributions. And so this is a nice little decision tree that says, okay, based on what information you have, am I dealing with subjective probability, classical or empirical? Am I dealing with compound events? If so, is the word or in there, or is the word and in there? Then also with distributions, am I dealing with continuous or discrete data? Am I dealing with a uniform distribution, a normal distribution, a general discrete, so on and so forth? Then here is a whole bunch of vocabulary that it's really not that much, but there still is a lot of vocabulary that you guys can go through here, you know, put your information in there and you'll be good to go. This really helps you with studying. And then this right here, what we're doing for Unit 2 is we are actually analyzing the data since 2014 of the men's basketball team. And so like right here, it says, okay, make a pivot table of games played. And again, it brings you through the steps, you know, one by one. So the first thing, which we can delete this, let's see here, pivot table of games played. So for the Excel worksheet for individual stats, I didn't say, I didn't spell individual right. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do insert pivot table. And then I'm going to say, put it into an existing worksheet. And then I'm going to put it right down here. Okay. And then for games played, group the games starting by 1 with a width of 5. So we're going to do games played. Okay. And then I'm going to put it down into rows. And then notice it says sum. We don't want it to say sum, so we're going to change it, show values, or summarize values as count. And so now we are going to do starting at 1 with a width of 5. So we're going to right click on this and it shows you, you know, what to do. And right click group starting at 1 with a width of 5. Well, you want to do auto ending with a width of 5. And so now we have this you know, broken up just like that. And make sure that it's summarized by count. Insert a relative frequency column for both by showing the values as a percent of the column total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put games played down here. And then instead of count, I'm going to show values as percent of grand total. And so now I've got a relative right there. Instead of labeling it as relative, calculate it as probability. So probability. Okay, so now it's probability. And so before we were describing the past, now we're saying based on past data, we are expecting that that individuals who are on the team, that the probability of them playing 6 to 10 games is about 8.64%. The probability of an individual playing 11 to 15 games is 11.11%. And then going all the way up to this, the probability of an individual playing 31 to 35 games is 44.4%. Okay. And so this is something that you just got to really understand when you're interpreting these types of things. And then coming in here, what is the probability of a team wearing green jerseys with white shorts, so on and so forth? Coming up here, 31 out of 30, 31 out of 61 players are guards, 24 out of 61 are from Texas. What is the probability of a student being a guard from Texas? And so the question is what is it that you should use in order to find this out? And then once you find that out, then you can calculate the answer for that. And this right here is for the second quiz. So this right here is for the first quiz, for the quiz for 2-1-1. And then this right here is for the second quiz for 2-1-2. Then it's supposed to say men's basketball team. Men's basketball team has 3 different jersey options. How many jerseys do they have to wear? And so figure out what you want to use in order to determine that. And then coming down here, you can use these Excel formulas. So Coach Drew has to put a team on the court. There are 5 players, and each plays a different position, so it cannot be random. Order matters. How many possible groups of 5 can you put on the court for the following year? So what this is saying is that there are a total of 12 players for the 2014-2015 season. Okay, so what we're going to do is, should I put, okay, combination, and then the number is 5, or number is 12, and the number chosen is 5, because there's 5 at a time. So combination, that's one possible option. Or the question is order matters. For order matters, should I do permutation? And the answer is definitely yes. If order matters, you should do permutation. And the reason why order matters here is because everyone has a different position. Okay, it's not just 5 random people on the team, it's 5 random people that are in very specific spots. And then coming down here, you're going to be doing the same thing, except Coach Drew always sends 2 random players from each coin flip. How many possible groups of 2 can he send from each season? And so you have to decide, are you going to do combination or permutation, so on and so forth. Okay. And then coming down here, what is the probability of Devontae Bandu and Mark Vital randomly being chosen together in 2018 for a given coin flip? So yeah, what you're doing here is you're saying, okay, here is one possible outcome, and what is the probability of that one possible outcome occurring out of every possible outcome? And so that's my little hint for you for how to complete that. So that's how you do the Word worksheets and the Excel workbook. You'll be doing some of this by yourself, especially the Excel workbook. You'll be doing by yourself, but the Word worksheet, we're going to be doing a lot of that in class together.